The Hidden Meaning of Truth and Untruth, Part-03.
Page 11. Heading: Truth exists on the basis of untruth. Questioner: Truth exists on the basis of untruth. How is that so? Tadashri: How can truth be recognized? Truth can be recognized on the basis of untruth.
How can you tell that this is north? There should be south, and based on that, you can tell that this is north. This is a relative truth. Only if there is untruth can something be called truth. Till when is it a truth? It is truth based on untruth. What is the foundation on which it stands? That of untruth. On the basis of I am Chandubhai, you say, I had given him the money and he had taken it in your witness. This is the truth. But I am Chandubhai itself is untruth. On what basis? On the basis of the real. On the basis of the original truth. The worldly interactions are performed based on this relative truth, but that truth itself is based on the foundation of untruth. This is not to be said publicly, but it's for you to understand within.
Therefore, this truth exists on the basis of untruth, and because its basis is untruth, that truth is also untruth.
What is untruth? I am Chandubhai is untruth. And based on this, you say, I gave him the money, but he's not returning it. He betrayed me. But all these talks turn out to be false because I am Chandubhai is itself untruth. In worldly interactions, it's fine. There are law courts, offices, and rules which are abided in the world. But the one that wants to go to moksha or liberation will have to go even beyond the relative truth and come into the real truth.
What is the support for what the world considers as the truth? Why is it considered the truth? It is called the truth based on the presence of untruth. Because it exists on the basis of untruth, it is in itself an untruth. Heading: The effort to attain the self. Questioner: What effort should a person make to attain the absolute truth, Param-satya, the self? Dadashri: It is when you feel that what the world considers as the truth is actually deluded, viparit, that you will progress towards Sat, the absolute, the self.
He betrayed me. I become very distressed. If one starts to feel that this distress is beneficial, that he's a benefactor on my path of moksha, he's very beneficial as he broke my moh or the illusory attachment towards the worldly life, I'm being freed to go towards moksha. If one understands this, then he will go towards the absolute truth.
So when someone gives Chandubhai 2 insults, the thought arises, he is pushing me towards Sat.
Right. When someone abuses us, he's breaking our pride. Insult is beneficial for moksha. So from that viewpoint, it's said, he's pushing me towards moksha.
Page 12. Everyone will push one towards untruth, but who will push one towards Sat? What people of the world consider a vitamin is poison for attaining the self, Param Sat, and what is poison to these people of the world is a vitamin for attaining the self.
Yes, we should not betray people or cheat them. We should not insult or hurt others. But if hurt comes our way, then we should take advantage of it. Oh, this hurt has come upon me? Therefore, it's not worth having attachment in these relationships. I have realized the true nature of these relationships. Now I only want to go to moksha. So if we keep attachment towards what people of the world consider as love, sympathy, trust, morality, or honesty, then we will be hindered from moksha. We don't want to have abhorrence towards these things, but we want to extract a conclusion. I expected him to help me out, but he didn't do so. Instead, he accused me. These accusations are vitamins for moksha. Understand that much. So this way, one can advance towards moksha by changing the viewpoint. He will go towards Param-satya, that is the self, the eternal element.
This is because the view, drashti, of the two is different, the method of the two is different, and the belief of the two is different. Questioner. Many people point out various methods such as do chanting, jap, do penance, tap, give donations, dan, whereas some others show what not to do. Do not do this and do not do that. So of these, which one is correct? Dada Shri. This chanting, penance, and giving donations is considered satya, and satya means temporary, vinashi. And if it is the absolute truth that you seek, then it is sat, and that sat is permanent, avinashi. There is only the need to experience sat. Experience of what is temporary is useless.
Respect and disrespect, even profit and loss, happiness and unhappiness, comfort and discomfort, reverence and criticism from the society. All of this is temporary. One keeps experiencing this in the worldly life, but he has to go beyond this. It says that there is a need to experience the permanent. When can we experience the permanent? When the value of temporary is gone, or when we understand that the adversity is beneficial. For instance, this profit earned is harmful for me, and loss is beneficial since it broke my greed. This way, when whatever we consider good and correct in the worldly life based on anger, pride, deceit, and greed is understood as harmful from the viewpoint of Gnan, then we will reach towards the real truth.
Questioner. So how can the absolute truth, Param Satya, be attained? Dadashri. Where one does not have the awareness of who am I, yet the awareness that I indeed am arises, the attainment of the absolute truth has begun.
This sentence seems difficult to us, but let's continue reading and we will find the explanation.
As it is, one does not even have the awareness of I am. Instead, one claims, Doctor, I am going to die. The awareness of what am I is yet to come. However, if the awareness that I indeed am, I indeed have existence, arises, then the attainment of the absolute truth has begun. The existence is definitely there. One has accepted that existence, but the awareness of it has not happened yet. Now when one attains awareness of one's own self, the absolute truth has been attained.
There are two parts in this. One is astitva, or the existence, then vastutva, knowledge about what the self is and what it is not, and purnatva, the state of being complete. The worldly people do not even have complete awareness of their existence. Existence is forever. They say, what kind of karma must I have bound in the past life that I have to suffer this much? So our existence is proven. We were there in the previous life, and we're here in this life. We're permanent, and that is known as existence. How am I permanent? And what is my form? When one realizes that, it is considered the awareness of vastutva, and that is considered as attainment of the absolute truth. And if one wants to go towards the absolute truth, then the awareness of existence, people don't even have the awareness of their existence. Doctor, please save me. What will happen if I die? He gets unhappy. Whereas if one has the awareness of his existence, then he has no fear. The karmic account of this body is finishing, but I am permanent. But the awareness of one's existence has been destroyed to such an extent, they are not even aware of their existence. When they become aware of their existence, oh, I'm something permanent. I don't understand quite yet what I am, but I certainly exist. And from there on, the attainment of the absolute truth begins. It begins towards that. The soul is my real form. My form is indestructible and eternal. Though he doesn't have the details on how it is, but even if he becomes certain about the real form, then spirituality begins. It's considered spiritual when he takes just one step towards the permanent. Whereas the other is considered as religion and non-religion. Leave the bad and grasp the good. He's still in the good and the bad. So he feels, I'll die, save me. What will happen to me? Whereas the spiritual one has some awareness that I am, and I am permanent. And then, when he realizes what I am, then that is considered attaining the absolute truth. And once that is attained, he will reach the absolute state and go to moksha.
Page 13. As long as the belief that I am Chandubai exists, one can never attain the absolute truth. Once one attains the awareness that Chandubai is actually my name and I am actually the self, Atma, when the awareness of the self takes place, then the absolute truth can be attained.
Like they say, come in Akshardham, reside within the eternal abode. The body is considered kshar or temporary, and I am akshar. Akshar means I am permanent. I am not temporary. I am permanent. When one gets awareness of this much, then that is considered as gaining knowledge of God, or becoming Brahmaswarup, the complete form, or attaining the state of the permanent. But that is where it begins. In India, when one starts to believe in reincarnation, then he becomes certain that my existence is permanent. And this development can be considered the beginning of the absolute truth. He will progress further towards this path. Let's start taking some questions. Hemlata Shah, Shushmita P. Trivedi.
Jai Sachidanand Pujya Shri Deepakbhai. Niruma has written in the editorial that
Where are you speaking from?
where the real Sat exists, worldly truths and untruths no longer need to be embraced or renounced. Instead, they become a matter to be discharged. They become an object to be known, Gneya Swarup. Could you please explain in detail about that discharge and object to be known, Gneya Swarup?
Is file 2 considered real truth or relative truth?
Relative.
Huh?
Relative.
Then is that something to be embraced or to be renounced?
To be renounced, a matter to be completed.
Not renounce, but to be settled with equanimity. If you were to renounce him, that would cause trouble. You leave the house. I won't leave. Therefore, all of this is relative truth. Is the father-in-law a permanent truth? Is the son-in-law a permanent truth? No, they are relative truths. The soul is the only real truth. In the relative, he is the son-in-law, and in the real, he is a pure soul. In the relative, he is the father-in-law, and in the real, he is a pure soul. In the real, he is a pure soul. And that is the permanent truth. And how is this a relative truth? It's only for the worldly interaction, and it's to be settled with equanimity. Once it's settled, it is to be known as a gnei, an object to be known. There's no longer attachment and abhorrence towards it. Do you understand?
Yes. So what does it mean by to know it as Gneya Roop?
Gnei means an object, and the other is the observer. Gnei is the object, and the knower is the observer. See it as an object thereafter. How is it right now? We drink tea. You must be having tea every morning, right?
Yes.
2 cups or 1 cup?
1.5.
1.5 cup is required. She'll say, tea is my file. I have to drink it every day. Then later on, some people adopt naturopathy, don't they? And they're made to give it up. Don't drink tea. Have these many fruits in the morning. Now, how will he feel if others are drinking tea? He'll say, I don't drink tea, neither renouncing it nor embracing it, but he'll keep seeing it as an object to be known. Poor guy will keep watching as others drink. I cannot drink anymore. I'm following naturopathy.
Right.
He considers it as an object to be known, or a gnei. There's no abhorrence towards it. Let others have it. He'll say, once upon a time I used to have it, but I don't drink it anymore. I used to drink it long, long ago.
So it's to not have attachment or abhorrence?
Gnei means an object to be known.
To be known.
Whether bad thoughts arise or good thoughts arise, know them as gnei. It's a matter to be discharged. So consider it in the form of gnei.
Okay.
Gnata means the knower. The self is called gnata. And the thoughts are gnei, the objects to be known. And the self is considered the knower.
Jai Sachidanand.
Next, Sushmita. Then Vinu.
I bow down at Pujyashree's feet. Pujyashree, can you explain in detail the truth about celestial beings from page 8? I am unable to understand that properly.
What's there in that to understand?
Because when we take the Gnan Vidhi, we call the protective celestial deities, and in their presence we take these Agna. Then how can we say that is not a truth?
Yes, but are they permanent?
I don't know.
When their lifespan of 100,000 years or 200,000 years end, is the celestial realm permanent? If a living being went to the celestial realm and became a deity, then will that not end? It'll end, won't it?
Yes.
Just like the son-in-law. Is he the son-in-law forever?
No.
Right, it'll end, meaning that they will get separated. After all, one of them will depart. So the worldly relations are relative relations. Some relations may last for 50 or 100 years, whereas those are for a few 100,000 years, or 2.5 million years. But that will also end. However, it's a type of authority, the authority of the deities. For example, is a police officer a permanent police officer?
No.
Exactly. He'll say, starting next year, I'll retire. Or if he commits a fraud, then the government will remove him, suspend him. From next year, no, not next year, he's been dismissed right away.
Until now, I thought that Ambaji Mata and other deities are permanent.
Permanent is in the sense that others like them will come thereafter. The protective celestial deity, like the sun, when one deity leaves, another comes in, but that sun deity is not permanent. When that soul leaves, another soul enters. Tirthankars have male and female protective celestial deities, Sashan Rakshak Dev Deviyo. And when a new Tirthankar comes, he will have new celestial deities. As celestial deities, they will help the worldly people. But it's not that the same deity will always be there.
Oh.
The salutations that we do to the celestial deities who protect the reign of Vitrag lords,
Yes.
keep doing that. If we make a mistake towards the ones that are present right now, it's like if you're following one religion, then you go against another religion, we're right and they're wrong. If you use the word, I am right.
No, it's not like that.
No, I'm not talking about you. You're being honest. This is in general. If any person says, I'm right, then automatically the other person will be considered wrong. He ends up calling the other person wrong. And to call someone wrong is the mistake being made in worldly life since infinite lives. Considering yourself to be right is from a certain degree. Someone at 200 degrees will say, I'm right, whereas someone from 250 degrees will say, I'm right. So the person at 200 degrees calls the one at 250 degrees wrong, and the person at 250 degrees calls the person at 200 degrees as wrong. This is called worldly life. He must understand that the truth in the center is different. From my degree, this is the truth, and from his degree, that is the truth. The truth at the center is different from both of their truths. The fully enlightened living beings have come to the center. We have the viewpoint of the center. We have received the real viewpoint, which means we have received the viewpoint of the center. So we accept the relative. From the relative viewpoint, this is correct, and from the real viewpoint, this is correct.
Jai Satchidanand.
Vinu. Then there's no name written in this one. Then Arti.
Jai Satchidanand Pujyashri.
Yes, go on.
On page 8, Dada says, the self, pote, by its nature, becomes what it envisions, Kalp Swarup. So is Kalp Swarup a property of the self?
Yes, it's a property. Gnan is a property, darshan or vision as the self is a property, and kalp or envisioning is also a property.
So when we...
Bliss is a property, they're all properties, and kalp or envisioning is also a property. So what do you want to ask?
We also talk about kalpana, intent-based imagination.
Kalpana is a different matter.
That kalpana is different, and this kalp. So
Kalp is a property of the self.
But how is that a property?
That property is such. When the pressure of circumstances come, vikalp or the belief that I am Chandubai and all the relative I-ness that stems from it arises from kalp. Vikalp arises from it. Like how Gnan and Darshan are properties of the self, but Darshan, there's the ignorance of the self And on the other side is the pressure of circumstances. Due to this, the Vibhavik gun, the Vishesh gun, the property that is born out of the coming together of the self and the non-self arises. Then he believes that I'm Chandu. That's called Vikalp. So what's Vikalp? It is stemmed from Kalp. And if there's no Kalp, then Vikalp wouldn't have arisen. So it's envisioning. What is Kalpana? It's to envision. Am I something like this? If something moves, then he thinks, I did that. Who else is there other than me? It's me. Therefore, first it's I am, and then I did this. And thirdly, this is mine. So this way, the doer, the enjoyer, and the I and minus all arose. The ignorance of the self and Vikalp, from Kalp, he became Vikalp. When he's going from Kalp to Vikalp, he's going in the wrong direction. And when he comes back from Vikalp to Nirvikalp, where he's free from the belief that I am Chandubai, then he will come back to the original place.
Yes.
And when the Nirvikalp form finishes, then he will have returned to the Kalp form.
Correct. Kalp is the natural property.
Natural.
But from Vibhav, extra intent of I am Chandubai,
Vikalp occurs.
Kalpana.
From Kalp, Vikalp arises. Then you do intent-based imagination, or envision, or... That's why the self is called Achintya Chintamani, that which cannot be envisioned, yet makes you what you envision. It cannot be discovered at any time, because it cannot be envisioned. Only the Gnani Purush like Dada Bhagwan or Tirthankar can show you. Then he gets the realization of the self as to who am I, Achintya Chintamani. And why is it Chintamani? Something that makes you what you envision?
Yes.
Because whatever it envisions comes about. But it has a timing. Parmanu, or the subatomic particles that cannot be further divided, get charged when it envisions. And when they discharge, they give effect according to what was envisioned.
Correct.
He made intents in the last life. I want a wife, 2 sons, 1 daughter, a house like this, a factory like this. So in the next life, he gets that.
Yes.
But then his wife talks and talks and talks so much that he feels, I want someone who's calm and quiet, with a quiet nature. So in the 3rd life, he gets the quiet one. But then he'll say, oh, you don't speak at all. Are you mute? That's also a problem.
Yeah.
That's why it changes life after life. On seeing something better, he envisions, it should not be like this, it should be like that. Oh, this is so nice, I want this. So he envisions that and comes into bondage.
So when Dada says, if he envisions about stealing,
Yes,
then he becomes a thief.
he envisions a thief.
Yes.
How can I get money? Instead of begging for money and suffering, this way is better. If I pickpocket once, then I'm set for a month or 2.
Right.
When one comes to a particular development, he can only envision those particular aspects. Someone who is at the 22nd mile can only envision about the 23rd mile. He cannot envision about the 70th mile.
But that is from the previous life's envision, right?
Yes.
And then he becomes that in the next life.
In the last life, he was at 21. Then he came to 22. After a long time, the one on the 22nd mile will come to the 23rd mile. It goes on like that. From 1 degree to 299 degrees, it's Vikalp. And when he receives the knowledge of 300 degrees, that I am pure soul, then he starts to become Nirvikalp.
Nirvikalp.
And he's Nirvikalp all the way until 359 degrees. At 360 degrees, he's Kalp.
Kalp.
So from 299 to 359, he's considered Nirvikalp. From 300 to 359, he's considered Nirvikalp.
Then he is Kalp.
And he becomes the original form again. When he goes to Siddhashetra, the location at the crest of the universe, where all absolute liberated souls reside, there's nothing left to envision. This is a beautiful discovery by Dada, that in a Vibhavik, not original phase, it does intent-based imagination. Phases occur naturally. Phases are nothing but a natural happening.
Right.
Encountering a train is a circumstance. But he envisions, I am considered a passenger, right? Yes. Then if he goes to the doctor and says, I'm the passenger, then the doctor will tell him, you're not a passenger, now you're a patient. Oh yes, I'm a patient. He just believes it. Worldly interaction arises. He believes that I am the son-in-law, I am the father-in-law, I am the patient, I am the doctor, I am the engineer. He has an air of arrogance about it. Dr. Patel. Hey, how did you turn into Dr. Patel? I'm Dr. Patel. That's not wrong, it's worldly interaction. But it sets in his belief, and that is wrong.
Right.
You should not let it get into your belief. It's only for the worldly interaction. They will ask, "Are you an engineer?" "Yes, I have a certificate," and then put it back in your pocket. But instead, people store that in their brain, and that causes burden. How does it cause a burden? These people are like this, and I'm something great. All others are lower, and I'm special. That ego arises. Belief means the ego. And with the ego, he becomes unhappy, and he hurts others and binds karma.
But is this the property of the original self?
Yes, it's the original self.
The original self.
Yes, it is considered the property of the original self. But when the property got used, the relative self arose. And then that relative self envisions more. I'm nice, I'm right, I'm smart. And he starts to become as he envisions.
Right.
Can knowledge be considered a property of the original self?
Yes.
Just like that, the self, an element, an eternal element, has three things. There's dravya, the substance of that element, gun, or the property, and paryay, the state. So it's said, there are infinite properties, infinite knowledge, infinite vision, bliss, and energy. And kalp is also one of the properties.
Kalp. Okay. Jai Sachidanand.